What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode 4 of our Motorsport Manager Let's Play here in, well, Motorsport Manager. We're back. Of course, we are at Renault. Last episode was a good episode. If you missed it, very, very good result. I recommend you go check it out. Today, we are going to be taking on the Russian Grand Prix, of course, that is taking place in real life in Sochi this season, and I'm hoping we can do well. You know, we had a good start last time. The car is, still in good nick. We're just going to get it repaired initially. We've got a new part on our way. Our headquarters are being upgraded. It's kind of all coming to plan. And, well, even Sergei Sirotkin's found God. I mean, there we go. Hopefully he gives us his blessing. That's good. It's a +1 focus bonus and +10 to his morale for 20 weeks. So that's quite nice. And obviously that does come in useful with it being the Russian Grand Prix coming up, although Sirotkin is only one of our backup drivers, a driver who I think I might kind of replace us in the not so distant future. So I'm not going to worry too much about playing him and kind of giving him a race just yet. Anyway, talk of removing the Milan Grand Prix. I'll accept this interview. Fans of the Milan Grand Prix are up in arms about the prospect of their beloved track being cut from the Formula 1 schedule. All I'm saying is, if the Italian Grand Prix was removed from Formula 1, there would be riots. I'm just going to say I love it, and I hope that it all stays. Really, some experts such as Tommy Klein are very much in favour. Tommy Klein? Who's that idiot? Tommy Q? Never heard of him. That idiot doesn't know what he's talking about. That's shots fired at that Tommy geezer. He's not going to be happy. But yeah, we've got the Russian Grand Prix coming up. It looks like we might have a vote as well for the removal of the Milan Grand Prix. So for you guys who haven't played Motorsport Manager before, basically the rules of your kind of race division that you play in will change over a period of time, and across the season there'll be a number of votes. You have the option yourself to pay to have a vote proposed, and these votes can do stuff such as change the amount of fuel that cars can have on board, the type of tyres, tracks to be removed or added, the kind of changes to how qualifying works. So it does kind of make it so that it's quite dynamic over the period, I guess, of your playthrough. You know, things do change quite a lot. Anyway, we've got our engine here. It's got a low risk of rule break, so I've got to bear that in mind. I mean, I'm probably going to risk it, to be honest. We've got that front wing as well, which is being built, and we've got another new part, another new front wing on the way. Of course, we're really at the moment we're just looking to get the condition of all of our parts up so that they're usable, because certainly at the moment, you know, reliability, it's not fantastic at the moment. It definitely could be better, and that is something, you know, that we do want to improve here with all of our parts where we can. I kind of want to, you know, get them all kind of equally, I guess, improved throughout the season. I feel like reliability is going to be pretty important for us this year, particularly with a new front wing. It'd be nice to have that ready for the race. I might even risk it going into the Russian Grand Prix to use that new front wing, although, looking at it, it doesn't actually give that bigger a boost in performance, so we'll have to have a think about that. It's an option. I have got that engine that has a risk of rule break. One of the reasons we made that, of course, is because the base value of whatever it is, be it an engine with the top speed, a low speed corner part like a front wing, basically that base value, regardless of risk, if it's still active at the end of each season, is what's carried forward into the next season for your cars to use. So, at the end of the season particularly, obviously it's still early days here, breaking the rules can actually be quite beneficial. Anyway, new front wing here, good reliability to start. I'm not sure how that performance matches up against what we already have. I think it is quite a big improvement. Yeah, it is. So that's good to see. The reliability on that is a little bit of a concern, but we'll probably chance it, I think, with both wings going into the race. And you can see here, it's looking like it could be a wet race, which, well, that might benefit us. I feel like wet races we can be quite smart with. But anyway, we've got a new vote coming up here. This is for the removal of the Grand Prix. This rule will not benefit teams likely to perform well at Milan. We are one of those teams, so we are going to vote against it, and we're going to see the votes coming in here. Who is going to be voting for and against it? Lots of people abstaining. That is not a good sign. Ferrari voting to get rid of the Italian Grand Prix. Right, shut it down. Fix the game. Patch it. Right, what's happening here? Okay, it could come down to the last vote. It is. Where is Tost going to go? Okay, it's been rejected. That was a little bit closer than I wanted it to be, but the race in Milan will not be removed, which is good, because I quite like that track. It's quite a good track for faster cars like ours. But yeah, we're going to go to the Black Sea Grand Prix. We can also get a new part on the go. What do I want to design? maybe new brakes. I've already upgraded the brakes a fair few times this year, and the great upgrades, they're not that great, the kind of components that we can get for the brakes, and maybe I'll pass off that. We're kind of a nice, kind of well-rounded, average car. I mean, well-rounded and average. You don't really put that with nice, but it's okay. We'll build a new rear wing with better reliability, although that isn't really going to offer us a big improvement on our current rear wing. I'll tell you what, I feel like we got really unfortunate with the components I've rolled this season. So these values, they change year on year, if you didn't know. I'll tell you what we'll do. We will get a new suspension in place. So how long is that going to take? 9 days. So that'll be something that we perhaps have for the next Grand Prix. We're kind of at a nice spot right now where, really, with the exception of our deceleration, the car's kind of well-rounded, so we can upgrade it in the areas that we want to. But anyway, going into this race, you can see here there's a few different compounds. I am going to say that we can finish, I'm going to say 6th or above. I'm going for it. We're going for the big Brucey bonuses. We do need to select our tyres here. Given the fact it's likely to be a wet race, at least due to the weather forecast, that seems to be what the predictions are. Obviously, it's very unlikely that we're going to need that many of the medium or hard tyres. So I'm going to stack up quite high with softs, because the chances are we're going to have, stints in the races where it is dry, and we'll want to be on the softs, and then we'll switch onto the wet tyres. So we'll go with that. 942 for each car. In terms of part fitting, we can fit a few new parts here, and the reliability on them is much improved now. So Hulkenberg can have the new brakes. I don't know if I want to use that engine with the risk of a rule break, but it does offer quite big improvements. So I think we'll YOLO it. I just said YOLO aloud. I'm going to hell. I'm sorry, everyone. Right, we'll get the new front wing on as well. And with the exception of that, we're in quite a good position. Jolyon Palmer's not that happy because Hulkenberg has got by far and away the better car, but Jolyon, you're second driver, mate. In fact, no, we're equal status. You are my second driver. That's the way I see you, Jolyon. I'm sorry. You might not like it, but you're not my favourite. Nico, as in real life, Nico Hulkenberg has done some amazing stuff with the Renault car so far, and I've got faith in him to do it again once more for us today. Anyway, you can see here this is based loosely off the Sochi Grand Prix. It kind of has that big sweeping left-hand turn that the actual track has, but with the exception of that, there's not all that many similarities really. But anyway, I don't want to bore you guys by making you watch practice, so I'm going to get away here. I'm going to do some tweaking. We're going to slug it out in the rain and hopefully have a good car and good setup going into the qualifying. So I'll see you guys in just a second for that. And we'll get to the end of qualifying, or rather practicing, and see how we are looking. Okay guys, so you join me here in the closing stages of practice, and I'll tell you now, it's been a very good session for us. The rain has started to come just towards the end of the session, so I've got my drivers just on the inter tyres. We've got that option of perhaps having the knowledge of the performance enhancing for the inter tyres for the actual race. But you can see our soft tyres are at level 3 for knowledge, same for qualifying trim, same for race trim. We are looking in a very nice position here. And, hopefully we can make this position stand and stick now going into the practice session, the qualifying sessions. The knowledge as a whole is really good. Hulkenberg has got excellent for all 3 categories. We got pretty lucky with him. Palmer, I was doing some late tweaks on just to, optimise his overall kind of car balances, but I'm pretty happy with them, and hopefully it's all going to come together in qualifying. Maybe the rain can be quite useful in our favour. You can see we got out quite quickly and kind of early on in the session on those soft tyres, and it has worked well for us. And hopefully, with a bit of well-timed rain, we can utilise that going into this session. So it looks like for this session at least, it's going to be dry. So I'm actually going to go with the soft tyres and the qualifying trim. Here you can see, looking at the car setup, the drivers, they're pretty happy with it all in all. So actually our earlier setup was slightly better, and that was with this slider tweak. So if we tweak it the other way, that should give us a nice little setup. Hopefully you can see we've got plenty of soft tyres for this qualifying session. It's going to be dry at least initially for this session, and because of the rain that's predicted to come, I'm going to get our drivers just straight out on track. I'm not going to wait, for the track to perhaps get a little bit more grip with more drivers out there. I want us to set a time whilst it's dry. Of course, this is only the first qualifying session. If we want to make it all the way through to Q3, we're going to need a very, very good performance from our drivers here. So we're going to get them out early. I'm hoping to see rain coming quite quickly into this session, in a way which means it might impact some of the drivers who don't go out immediately. But we'll have to see how things get on here. We might leave ourselves in a situation whereby we go out too early, other cars go out on the more grippy track and outperform us, and then it rains afterwards, in which case we could be in problems. But of course, we've done fairly well in qualifying the last few episodes, and I'm hoping for something similar. You know, certainly to get through this session, that's got to be the minimum aim here. A little bit of traffic ahead for Hulkenberg, which perhaps is a concern, but, well, the driver's doing okay so far. Palmer actually outperforming Hulkenberg in that second sector, which is interesting. And, well, look at the weather forecast. Rain is coming, and that is good news. So hopefully that's going to impact some of the other cars on their flying laps. Unfortunately, it might just come a minute too late to really have any meaningful impact, which is a bit of a shame. You know, would be hoping that it negatively impacts some of the drivers. And, well, it might just come, and it might be enough to get our drivers into the next session. Because you can see, rain for the next foreseeable few minutes. There's not going to be much point in us sending our drivers out here. We are still being outperformed by a few drivers, but Van Dorn struggling, Verline struggling too. Hulkenberg and Palmer in very good positions here, and while the track, it's still wet, it is going to dry up. My drivers want to go out again. If I time this well, I could get it so we're just going out when it dries up. I kind of might need to cover myself here. It's going to start raining again. I'm not going to. I'm going to stick it out here. The drivers might want to go out again. I don't think we need to. You know, going out on the inter-times, I can't see the times being comparable to the kind of time we set on the dry track. And you can actually see the rain's going to get even heavier at the end of this session. So that's good for us. You know, setting an early lap has probably got both our drivers through. It wasn't great, really. You know, 13th and 14th. We're only going to make it through Q3 at the... Q1 at the by the skin of our teeth. And well, hopefully, going into Q2, we can have a better performance here. But yeah, I'm not going to bother sending out the drivers. The times are not likely to improve, particularly on these inter-tyres. You can see time ticking away. There's a minute left of this session. It's not going to happen. We don't need to worry. And well, the rain is continuing to come lashing down here. It'll be interesting to see, I guess. Will this carry forward and onto the next session? Because if it does... it might shake up the pack a little bit in terms of what we can expect to see. But anyway, all the cars who are on their flying laps are, finishing them up now. It's going to be P13 and P14 for us in this session. It's going to see Kvyat, Sainz, Magnussen, Van Dorn and Verline going out. Perhaps a little bit of a surprise to see the likes of Van Dorn and Verline going out. But well, we've benefited a little bit there from the weather. That's definitely, put us in good stead though, going into the next session. And hopefully we can execute a similar strategy to see both our drivers through to the second qualifying session, or into the third qualifying session in this second qualifying session. I'm not sure. That might be the first time both of our drivers have made it through this session. But yeah, a little bit surprising perhaps to see McLaren with Van Dorn struggling as much as they have. And, well, let's go into Q2 here. Can we have another good performance? The rain, it's not coming down yet. And that makes me think, let's get out on track now. Let's do the exact same strategy once more. Rain was predicted for this session. And, well, we're going to chance it. We're going to get our drivers out on track and see what they can do here. We'll put their tyre heating back on. And, yeah, we're hoping for rain. We are looking for that rain to come as soon as it can, really, in a way that benefits us, because we want it to be that all these cars who are still in the pits at the moment, they come out and the track's slightly damp and, their soft tyres just aren't quite performing. Unfortunately, our forecasting centre isn't very kind of well upgraded, so as a result, we don't really have an accurate picture as to what's to come here, and it does look like it's going to stay dry, which is problematic for us, it'd be fair to say, because we've gambled out early. There isn't very much grip on track, and unless there's some rain, which is yet to have been seen, which it doesn't look like there's going to have been. It's going to come down to raw driving skill to get us through this session. Hulkenberg and Palmer both set times. Curiously, Palmer outperforming Hulkenberg despite having the worst car. So that is a little bit interesting, and particularly as Hulkenberg does have a kind of a better, more preferred setup in terms of he's a lot happier with his kind of overall car setup than Palmer was with his, and we could be in trouble here. We might be able to get out for a second set of flying laps, and because of how many soft tyres we've packed, we can actually afford to do that. It's a little bit of a risk. I'm hoping that rain isn't going to come. The outlap here is about 1 minute and 20 seconds. I think we're going to be okay. It's just a case of has enough grip developed into this track? Has this track matured enough for us to try and set a good time here? You can see 5 minutes left of the session. Right now, ourselves, the Force India of Ocon, Alonso and Ericsson looking like the drivers likely to crash out here. We're going to send out our cars. You can see no rain scheduled to come once more. Lots of cars still in the pits. We could see a fair few cars sending out their, or a fair few teams sending out their cars here to try and set late times. And well, we're looking for a good performance here. Hulkenberg betters his kind of first and second sectors in this session. Palmer struggling, however. Palmer going to come through and go, well, down into 13th. Hulkenberg improved, but not enough to get him through to the next session. And unfortunately for us, we're going to see both our drivers go out in this session in Q2, which is less than ideal. But we saw the wet races predicted. I'm hoping that that is going to play into our hands a little bit, and we might be able to make something happen. It's going to be an interesting race, certainly, if the rain comes lashing down. And, well, hopefully our drivers can give a good performance here. You can see a few cars on outlaps. Esteban Ocon not able to improve on his time. Alonso in P12, desperately trying to get into that kind of top 10 for the third and final qualifying session, but it looks like he's going to be struggling. And, well, that is going to be the session right there. A tight session. Hulkenberg narrowly missing out. You can see there just, well, fractions of a millisecond, 700ths of a second, the difference between Lance Stroll and Hulkenberg. So that is a little bit of a shame for us. Massa on his in-lap. But, yeah, we're going to miss out on the final qualifying session again. We did have that last time in the previous race. It didn't matter. We performed well last time out. I'm hoping for a similar type of performance, I think, going into our next race here. So let's see how we get on. We'll simulate the session. Q3 going to get underway. We'll see how the weather's like in this session. Is the rain that was predicted going to come, or what's that just for Q3? That's going to be, oh, sorry, for Q1. That's going to be the interesting thing, I guess, here. Looks like it is going to stay dry. Hamilton leading the way ahead of Vettel. Bottas and Raikkonen some way behind the pace, although I say that. They both do improve their time slightly. Bottas up to 4th. Ricciardo actually going to start alongside Hamilton on the front of the grid. And, well, it's a bit of a Ferrari, Red Bull and I guess Mercedes kind of sandwich going on there in the top 6. They're all going to be battling it out with each other in that opening section. And, well, if we can have a first turn crash, that would help us out. Here's hoping that we can have something like that. Anyway, let's get into the race today. You can see, going to start off with sun, then looking like it could rain. And I think it's going to rain heavily when it does rain, based off the previous weather forecast. You can see, actually, it's going to be a wet start to the race. So we're going to actually go on the intermediate tyres that we built some knowledge for. I'm hoping that it's going to rain for large spells of this race, because that would benefit us a lot. Anyway, looking at the tyres here, they are going to last 8 to 10 laps. The race itself is set to be a 20-lap race. So we'll see how we get on. I saw a few people on the previous episode who mentioned that they thought that the races, I should put them on a longer setting because the last race was fairly short. It was a one-stopper. It is worth noting that the last track we're on is one of the longest, so it has one of the fewest lap counts. The medium kind of setting is the setting I've got our laps on for people curious with this Let's Play. But let's see how we get on here. We are on the medium tyres, and, well, that is nightmarish. Hulkenberg so slow off the line. He backs up Palmer as well, and we find ourselves down in P16 and P17, respectively. That is not what we wanted to see here. And, well, we're looking for an improved area here. Hulkenberg going to try and go on the outside. Our drivers, they could end up battling against themselves if they're not careful. Palmer up to 12th. In a real battle of his own, actually, to hold on to 12th as well. Does some fairly nice driving there. Tyre temperatures are going to slowly creep up here. Of course, we have got our tyres to be pushed up. Looking for us to find some temperature in them. But it looks like going into the closing stages of this first lap, it's going to be a less than ideal start for us. Although Palmer does make a really nice move there. It looks like Magnussen struggling for some power on that straight. And, well, he's going to have a go at the Force India potentially here, Palmer. He's on the hunt. He's on the prowl. He's in 11th at the moment, which is not too bad at all. Safety car is leaving the garage. We are going to stay on our current tyres here. We are going to set our engine mode and our tyres to low. And, well, the safety car here is going to come out. Who crashed out? It was Bottas. So Valtteri Bottas out of the race. Not looking good for him. You can see the rain is going to continue to come down in kind of brief spells. It's a shame our forecasting centre isn't any better, because it'd be nice to know what's on the horizon for us. We're going to stick it out on these inters. It looks like everyone else's, so that's looking like it's going to be the right decision. You can see Palmer in 10th now. Safety car going to be out for one more lap. It's going to pick up the crowd here. And, well, we're going to try and conserve some fuel, conserve our tyres. It's going to be important that going into the next lap we do get those tyres up to temperature. But, well, it's reflecting on this start. I mean, Palmer's had a great little start. Hulkenberg's been struggling a little bit, which I'm surprised about because of the fact that we have, of course, got him on the kind of the better car. It does give us a chance as well to charge up our battery here, which I guess is useful. Again, no cars going into the pits, so everyone's sticking out on the inters, which makes me think it is the right decision what we're doing here. And, well, we're going to go into this, the last lap. The safety car going to be heading into the pits once more at the end of this lap. The cars, they're backed up here. And, well, looking further ahead, Vettel leading the way, so he's done really well. Ricciardo, who was on the second on the grid, has fallen right down. Grosjean in the Haas as well, up in 6th. He is doing superbly there. And, well, it's time to try and get some temperature, I think, back into these tyres here. Let's get the driving style on attack. Hopefully the drivers can just build up some temp in these tyres so that we can be kind of fully kind of the optimal, I guess, levels of performance. But yeah, you can see the rain going to continue to come down here. Kind of patchy showers, which do make it tricky. It does mean that we might see some fairly different strategies from all the different cars here. And, well, the race is on. We are going to switch our engine modes up into high. Palmer makes up a spot there. Hulkenberg down in 14th. Palmer, nice little move by him. Tyres are up to temperature as well, so we will now take them off attack. We have built up some excess fuel. Unfortunately, Palmer going to lose 3 places in that turn, and while Hulkenberg up to 13th, and suddenly our team are battling amongst themselves once more. Hulkenberg trying to do Palmer on the outside here. Doesn't quite make it happen, although he will have the inside line for the corner. Can't make the move, unfortunately, for him. And, well, we're going to go back onto the medium tyre kind of strategy now. These tyres for us, they're not going to last that much longer. We might have to pit for another set of inters. Palmer, I can only assume he's flat-spotted his tyres because they are really struggling here. As I say that, he is struggling with tyre wear. He confesses it. I don't know if I've left this too late. I actually want to bring him into the pits, I think, here, and have him really push on a set of inters. It's what we'll go for. I'm not going to fix any of the parts. They're all in fairly good condition, actually, at the moment. He might have to go in. He is. He's going to go in at the end of next lap. So we'll put him on attack. He can really burn through these tyres to end this. We'll put him on overtake as well. But yeah, the rain doesn't look like it's going to let up, although it might just be about to. We might be about to get screwed here, but I can't really keep Palmer out on his current set of tyres. He's struggling too much with them. So I've put him on attack. Hulkenberg can maybe make his last. It's a case of, is this rain? Because you can see it's going to stop raining on lap 10. Is that rain a gap in the shower? Or is that, you know, where the track is going to get dry and we're going to have a dry end to this race? I feel like it might be a dry end to this race. So Palmer can really push through these tyres here, because he might only have them for a handful of laps, really, and he's going to have a fair bit of time to make up. Hulkenberg, on the other hand, I'm trying to make these tyres last as long as possible. He's probably going to have to pit at the end of this lap. And looking at it, the rain looks like it's actually going to come back here. I've got to go on to inters, because the showers, they're not letting up here. We might still have a dry end to the race, in which case Palmer might be in dreamland on these inters, because it may be a case that a lot of other cars have to come on to inters as well. Tyre temperatures are up. Hulkenberg going to come into the pits this lap. A few other cars coming in. What tyres are they going to come out on? This is going to be very telling here. They're all coming out on fresh inters. Palmer might have just got very, very lucky here. You can see the track not really going to get any wetter. It's just kind of going to level out over the next few laps. And well, Palmer, he's up to 10th now. He's looking in a very nice position, really, here. Hulkenberg with plenty of excess fuel as well. He doesn't need to worry about his tyres quite so much, so we'll have him push them too. And, well, there might be a dry spell coming here, but, well, you can see all the cars who were pitting are going on to the inters. And, well, Palmer's up to 6th. This is looking like it could be a good opportunity for points, although he is battling out with Sebastian Vettel, who obviously does have the better car. It'd be fair to say the Ferraris, they are faster. And, well, this rain, it's just continuing to go. I tell you what, Palmer is really struggling to keep a grip on these tyres. He is burning through them very, very quickly. Definitely, well, I can only assume he doesn't have a very good driving smoothness rating, because he's just going through them here. But the track, it might be about to dry up, you know. By lap 15, we might be looking at a dry end to this race. And if that is the case, if Palmer could just make these tyres last 2 more laps, he's going to be in a good position here. Hulkenberg in 9th as well is not doing too badly at all either. Grosjean struggling for tyre wear in the Haas too. He's not looking to kind of preserve his tyres. It looks like the rain's going to come back once more. Do I risk it? Palmer in 5th. I've got to pit him at the end of this lap. I've got to. I haven't really got a choice here. I mean, maybe he can make one last lap last. I've got a decision to make here. Do I want to keep him out on this tyre? It's going to get wetter. It's going to get wet. The thing is, all these other cars might make their inters last. There's no way Palmer's going to make these inter tyres last for the rest of the race, unfortunately. So we'll bring him in. And yeah, he's going to have to go in. I mean, everyone else is probably going to do a one-stop with the inters and really preserve them hard here. Unfortunately, Palmer just burning through his tyres just a little bit quickly. Hulkenberg, you know, he's in 7th though. Hulkenberg could still make this work for us. We can also afford to put him into overtake mode. It's a good stop by Palmer. Unfortunately, it's an extra stop which he probably doesn't need. There's a few other cars who are going to be struggling with this. It looks like Magnussen is going to be coming into the pit sooner rather than later. And it is going to be a wet end to the race. So it was the right decision to stick it out with these tyres. Hulkenberg, you know, he's going in. Magnussen's going to have to pit. Hulkenberg, just make these tyres last, my friend. 5 laps is going to be a long time to make them last. That's my only concern right now. I mean, he might have to go into backup mode and really preserve them hard here. Because I'm not going to be able to pit him. And he's locked up his tyres as well. That is awful. That is actually awful. We might be in big, big trouble here. In terms of, I don't know if Hulkenberg's going to be able to make these tyres last. He's going to have to make them last 4 laps. I don't think that's actually mathematically possible. The thing is, everyone else is struggling with their tyres as well. So the question is, do I want to pit Hulkenberg? Hulkenberg thinks the track's shiny. It's going to get wet again, mate. It's going to get wet again. But these tyres are not going to last the rest of the race. I've got to pit him. I've got to pit him or else I'm just going to be stood with no tyres at the end of the race. It's frustrating. But, I mean, we've got to do it. If we go for a fast pit stop, it isn't actually going to make a massive difference to us. It's frustrating that we are going to have to pit an extra time here because it feels like an extra unnecessary pit stop. You can see, looking at the track, Palmer in 11th isn't that far behind Hulkenberg. And actually, if a few cars do decide that they need to pit again, we might be okay here. But, well, Hulkenberg, he's going to come out in 10th, but he can now really afford to push these tyres because he's not got to make them last that long, in truth. So he can really push them. Palmer, I mean, he should be able to make these tyres last now. We'll have to keep an eye on that. He's up in 7th. You can see a few cars up ahead. They're coming into the pits as well. Or at least one of the Ferraris is. That is Raikkonen, who's gone into the pits. Palmer's up to 5th now all of a sudden. And suddenly Palmer just needs to make his tyres last, doesn't he? Hulkenberg's in 8th as well. There's a few cars ahead who I don't think they're going to be able to last the race on these current tyres. If I'm honest, Hulkenberg, he might be in a really good position here because he can really afford to attack. 2 laps left of this race. Palmer, I don't know if he's going to even last the race. I think he might have pushed too hard here, Palmer. I think his tyres are going to fall off a cliff. And he could find himself dripping and slipping down the order. Hulkenberg in a much better position for us. He might be the man we look at for points because Palmer, his tyres are going to be dead by the end of this race. He's going to have to do the last lap with them borderline kind of unworkable. Hulkenberg kind of fighting out here. Hulkenberg actually has some of the best tyres of this pack that are chasing Palmer. Palmer is backing them up quite a lot, and you can see this is going to be one hell of a battle on this last lap here. Palmer desperately trying to hold on, but his tyres are falling off a cliff face. He is not going to be able to make them last. Hulkenberg's up into 6th. This is great driving as far as we're concerned. Palmer can't hold up Massa, unfortunately, but we could have 5th and 6th here if we're careful. Although Palmer, he's got to hold it down this last bend. He's not going to be able to hold on to it, unfortunately. Hulkenberg's going to get 5th, though. Palmer's going to get 7th. Palmer, I mean, he ran through his tyres so quickly, quicker than I thought he would, if I'm honest. But we made the 2-stopper work. 5th and 7th is not too bad. We achieved the bonus, and I feel like, all things considering, that strategy was not too bad. I don't think anyone would have predicted that to be an all-inter race. I was expecting us to go on the dry compound at least at some point. I don't actually think a single team did the entirety of that race. You can see, yeah, everyone on the inters, it didn't really tip it down with rain. We weren't on full wets at all. It just kind of drizzled throughout. And in the end, 5th and 7th is not that bad at all as far as I'm concerned. I'm very happy about that. We just have to hope now we don't get the rule break for the engine. And we're not going to get it, so we're not going to lose positions here. Hulkenberg in 5th. Palmer in 7th as well. Again, I'm really happy with that. Hulkenberg 22 points for the season. Palmer with 13. And we find ourselves in 6th in the pecking order, which isn't too bad at all. And we're actually all square with McLaren. Of course, in-game, they're not quite having the same engine issues and power unit issues that they are in real life. So they are a formidable team. And you can see the Ferraris not actually that far ahead at the moment. And Williams going very, very strong. Meanwhile, it's Mercedes and Red Bull right at the top of the picture there. You can see they're on equal points after 4 races in this 16-race season. So, well, with a quarter of the season gone, I'm pretty happy with what we've done there. That was a good little performance, that race. It was a tricky race. I feel bad. I probably could have held Palmer out for one more lap and maybe have him conserve at least one of those sets of tyres just a little bit longer. We were the 4th best performing team in that race. I think the weather did definitely kind of benefit us. You know, it allowed the strategy to shine through. But yeah, we get a little bit of a bonus there, which is nice from our sponsors. And we make £2 million, which is good to see. And I'm pretty happy about that. That definitely could have gone a lot worse, that race. There was a nervy moment at the end where I thought Palmer might drop way further down the pecking order than he actually did. And you'd have to say, our last 2 races have been pretty good. You can see Hulkenberg's form has been great in the last 2 races, where he's finished 4th and 5th. I mean, for Palmer, on the other hand, 9th and 7th isn't too bad, to be honest. You know, he's consistently picked up points in every single race. Well, Hulkenberg, the same can't be said for him. He had a bit of a rough start, but the last 2 races he's come pretty darn good for us. Of course, he has got the slightly better car. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up another episode of our Motorsport Manager series. I apologise for the fact this episode is a day late, as the one last week was. It's going up on a Monday. I feel like the 4-day bank holiday weekend here in England and the fact I've had Friday and Monday off work has kind of thrown my schedule in a bit of a loop. I was busy on Sunday, you know, it was Easter Sunday, you can perhaps imagine, you know, seeing family and stuff. But I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, as always, leave a like. If you've got any comments with regards to my race strategy, what I could do different, what parts I should be looking into, please do let me know those down in the comments. And other than that, it is me, Jack. I will see you guys next week for another episode of this Motorsport Manager Let's Play. And yeah, I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.